And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome to Open Connection, with your host, Robert Pictou. The 90s pop culture gave birth to the iconic fashion shows, television shows, and different genres of alternative lifestyles. We begin today's Open Connection by opening archives to bring you this story from 1990.
We met in a pub back east, and we've been together ever since. Was that simple?
It's an old cliche. It was love at first sight.
That was 22 years ago. Lloyd Thornhill and Bob Peacock left marriages and children to come west and begin a new life together. They live on a quiet street in North Van. They both work for BC Ferries. They go to church every Sunday. And they're proud to be a family. Not the Donna Reed variety, but a family just the same.
What gives you the right to call yourselves a family?
I don't think we have to defend anything. We are a family. I think God gives us that right. We're both Christians, and God gave us that right to be a couple and to be a family. And I don't believe we have any need for defense of that.
I feel the same way. I don't have to basically defend myself to anybody.
And this is you?
That's me, Jim.
Just a spring chicken.
Yeah, I was only a baby.
Families have changed as times have changed, and the world is a different place than it was 22 years ago.
Let's talk a little bit about your relationship. How has that changed over the years?
Now, as I say, I listen very carefully to him, and I just love him more every day. That's the best way to describe it. As our relationship is getting more mature, I guess we are becoming more mature, and it's just totally different. It's really hard to describe. I just care more and more about him all the time.
I wake up in the morning and I just praise God that there is Lloyd beside me, and that we have the day to look forward to, we have the nights to come home and look forward to. And it's a joy. It is a joy. But it's not without our problems. We still have problems. We have the same problems everybody else has.
Bob and Lloyd are just one example of changing family structures, yet the traditional family remains very much in style. In the 80s, more people than ever chose marriage. Problem is, 1 in 3 of those marriages is destined for divorce. And trailing in the wake of that statistic, the fastest growing segment of society, single parents. Most of them are single mothers, trying desperately to cope.
Ooh, chicken noodle soup. Nom nom. Mm-hmm.
Christina Morale is one of thousands of single moms in BC. At 26, she finds herself with 2 children in social housing on welfare. She can't work because she can't find a daycare that will take 2-year-old Larissa.
Up at the table, Mabel.
This is my full-time job, is looking after the children. So you just get up in the morning and you do what you have to do, and then when it's bedtime, they go down, and then it's your quiet time.
What do you think about?
I dream about, in 10 years from now, where am I going to be? Where are they going to be? You know, because I had a very dysfunctional family growing up. So I probably didn't learn good parenting skills. I don't know the way a normal family behaves. I think about what I'm doing. Is it going to, in the end, create another dysfunctional family, or am I going to sort of slide around the corner and come out okay?
When she was young, Christina had dreams of a husband and a family, together always. But with several failed relationships and a marriage gone bad, Christina's children have become her focus.
Hey, you gonna kiss your sister goodbye or what? Say bye, Tab.
How would you like the rest of us in society to see you as a single mother on her own with 2 kids? I mean, what would you like from us? What do you...
I wouldn't like pity. I don't like people knowing poor you, or we feel sorry for you. I just want people to have an understanding that people on welfare are trying really hard just to make ends meet, just to do with the little things. I just want them to understand how hard it is when your children come and ask you for something and you can't give it to them because you don't have it. That's probably the hardest thing, is when you have to turn your kids away for things because you can't do it. That's what I'd like people to know, is that it hurts when you have to turn your kids down.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Thank you for staying with us. For many reasons, including financial constraints, career decisions, wanderlust, and more, young adults are waiting longer to have children than any generation before them. Let us return to the archives to discover why some couples wait to start a family.
I see it as a situation where we'll have 2 groups, okay? A wealthy group at the top and substantial numbers of them. Not just a few. Substantial numbers of quite wealthy, affluent people and substantial numbers of quite poor people.
Can you smile and eat at the same time, Wendy?
Little Misha Green isn't wanting for anything. His parents, Rick and Yvonne, married 16 years ago and started a family only after achieving their other goals.
I think for us to know ourselves a little bit better was helpful. I know that my degree of patience is much higher than it was when I was, say, 25. And we've done most of the things that we've always wanted to do, travel and do certain things. And so we don't feel like we've been deprived of anything.
So we have had changes in society. Certainly we will continue to have them. But I don't have an optimistic picture that things are getting perfectly better. They're changing.
Oh, you're thirsty. Oh, you're so thirsty.
That change has been positive for some, but clearly not for all. And according to the experts, the economic gap between families rich and poor will only grow wider as the 90s progress.
Kids learn about the Rolling Stones tour through Labatt's ads. They learn that rock music is sponsored, that rock music, more than anything else today, is the soundtrack to advertising.
The Rolling Stones Steel Wheels Tour, presented by Labatt's Blue. It's the way we play.
Young people were understood to be a truly strong economic force. And when they became that economic force, the industries, entertainment industries, fashion industries, magazine industries, film industries began to produce products specifically for young people. Youth is sexy, and youth sells. And it always has and it always will.
Youth sells, and it also buys, and that urge to consume has caused some changes.
Yeah, thanks, bye.
Tracy Kane is out of high school, working in a real estate office, making money, but she's not spending it on rent. Like many of her friends, Tracy has decided to remain in the family home.
Well, I basically just want to get some money behind me. You know, because there's no point in getting out and renting your apartment and then finding out that you have no money. You know, it's always tougher. It's just a tougher life, and no one wants that. Hi. Guess who I talked to today? Robin Robertson.
Who's that?
Remember she used to live across the street?
Oh, yeah. I thought they went to Australia.
They did, but they're back.
Tracy lives at home with her parents, and she's not alone. Her sister, Sharon, has also remained at home, despite having a full-time job.
Actually, I'm quite pleased that they are willing
I guess, to stay at home, because hopefully it will give them a better financial start than moving out and trying to afford to pay rent.
You want to be able to run your own life, and, you know, living at your house, you know, you're always, you have, you know, your mom's there and your dad's there. And I know they don't necessarily restrict you, but you kind of, you know, you just feel that you're, you know, you can't grow anymore.
We wondered what else has changed for today's youth as they head into the 90s, so we went to the source, to Eric Hamber Secondary School in Vancouver, and spent an hour talking to a group of grade 12 students. Here's some of what they said.
We can be kids until we're 24 or 25. We can still live with our parents, still go to school, and then we expect to sort of step out of university into a high-class career. I mean, preceding generations, you graduated from high school and you went out and got a job, you know, as a soda jerk or a waiter or whatever.
Then you could get into university probably with a C or C+, I'm not really sure, but now it seems like my friends are so worried in high school about getting into university that that's all, it's just work, 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 that's all they can think about.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome back to Open Connection. Barbara Billingsley's June Cleaver on Leave It to Beaver has long been remembered as a quintessential housewife who kept an immaculate home while managed to look immaculate herself in her trademark pearls and high heels. Let us return to archives as one student shares her career goals.
You have to do the career first. You have to do it, get it done with, get it over with, and then when you're established. No. But when it's established, and you're an executive or whatever you want to do, then you can go, okay, now it's time for the kids, and that way you have all your time to dedicate to them, and that way you can be June Cleaver. You can be the mother who has the cookies on the table and who's always there, or the father, depending on. Well,
So you want to be the career woman first, and then you'll be June Cleaver after that.
If I'm going to have children, which I want to, I will not have my kids raised by someone else. I won't have kids unless I can make those sacrifices. I mean, if my wife isn't able to stay home, I will stay home, and the kid will be bottle fed. I mean, but ideally, the mother should bring up the child.
I'd like to know what kind of men you guys are going to be.
I think that this generation that we actually care what the women are doing, and we gotta wait until all our parents they pass away and all the chauvinistic attitudes they passed, because I feel that most of my male friends there aren't very many chauvinistic people out there anymore. It just doesn't happen. Like everybody is considerate of other people's like values and feelings.
There are a lot of chauvinistic males out there. They just like to hide it because now a lot of women aren't going to take it. That's why. So they put it in the closet.
We're jumping from topic to topic here now, but the advertisers, I don't know if you know this, but advertisers love you guys. They think you're incredible because you have a whole bunch of money and you don't have mortgages. Does that make you feel manipulated?
I think that advertising has really helped create such a high standard of living because we have everything we want.
We all want to wear, you know, suits and ties to the office and drive Beamers and you know, have big houses in the country and you know, commute. And this is something that I don't know if that's going to be the way in the 90s, but that's what is successful. That is what is happy.
If something isn't Ray-Ban, it's just not a sunglass, you know, like, if that's the way we are, and that's the way we buy our products.
In the last 1 minute we have here, I'm going to go around and I'm going to ask you to give me one word that sums up your generation. Okay?
Competitive. Individuality. Ambitious. Uptight.
Selfish.
Competitive. Independent. Sometimes stereotypical. Pressured. We feel very pressured.
We just don't care.
Materialistic.
Stressed out.
Knowledgeable.
Fortitude.
Fortitude.
Competitive.
Materialistic. Self-centered.
Confused.
Very competitive.
Progressive.
Optimistic.
Financial.
Insecure.
Informed.
A night out, good company, a glass of wine. Most of us would think of this as one of life's pleasures. But for Diana Barkley, it's work. She's in public relations, and like many people, she finds that work and play often blend together.
It certainly does take up a lot of my extra time. Public relations often involves things that happen outside of the 9-to-5 scope of things. You know, when an event goes as well as this one, it's certainly a pleasure. But there are a lot of behind-the-scenes things that we have to take care of all along the way. So you're always on your guard and you're constantly watching for things.
The line between work and play becomes even more blurred when a person's home becomes his office. That's the case for Richard Green, who practices speech pathology, working without ever leaving his home.
Now, I understand that you got a diagnosis of vocal fold bowing from the ear, nose, and throat physician.
You stay where you are. You don't seem to find yourself running from A to B to C to D all the time, where you're just sort of running helter-skelter trying to pick up beans. And you stay in your community. And when it's time, when you've got a little bit of a break, you can go out and have a quick coffee and see a friend maybe, and then come back in and start again. It makes sense.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
The first step to choosing a career is to make sure you're actually willing to commit to pursuing that career. You don't want to waste your time doing something you don't want to do. In this final segment of Open Connection, we return to the archives to a course-changing career of a salt spring potter.
What made sense for Mark Meredith was this life, throwing pots on Salt Spring Island. But it hasn't always been this way. Once, Meredith carried a briefcase, attended meetings, lived the fast life.
All right, if I take it off? All my business associates and friends who I went to business school with were absolutely astounded that I gave up all my opportunities, because I had every possible opportunity that you could imagine handed to me, and I just threw it all away to go off on this wild journey.
That journey has taken him through 2 failed marriages, a slow start with the pottery business, and ultimately a nervous breakdown. But now his pottery is being scooped up by eager tourists. Meredith even has plans to expand his business and sell his wares off the island. At the moment, though, it's still a cottage industry where the door is always open and shoppers are trusted to help themselves.
But isn't this what you tried to get away from when you left Vancouver?
You know, life has its cycles, you know. Eventually I want to be able to make 80% of my income in the summer, because that's the only time, I mean, that's when most of them come by, so I have to build up my stock more in the winter, I think.
So you say everything comes full circle, and you're kind of, in a sense, back to where you were.
No, I'm only halfway back.
Are you going all the way?
No, not going all the way. I'm going to keep it really simple. I think I just want to keep on doing it myself.
Mark Meredith went from sophisticated to simple. Perry Goldsmith did the reverse.
I wanted to mention one other thing. I've been trying to reach the fellow in the States about radio syndication, the Dr. Tamura series.
Perry Goldsmith spends his time these days meeting with high-profile clients like futurist Frank Ogden. But Goldsmith's life was once much simpler.
If you're dividing up your time, sometimes it's important to work, sometimes it's important to spend time with your family, and priorities are very, very important. You really have to think out what your priorities are for that particular time in your life. In the 60s, people had a priority of exploration. For me, in the 70s, I was building a business. That was my priority.
In the 60s, Goldsmith backpacked around the world, living the life of a hippie. Now, those pictures hang on his office wall.
It's a reminder of priorities, I suppose. It's a reminder to say, look, there are other things other than working in the office. When I'm here at 11 o'clock at night, I turn around and look at those, I feel a little bit guilty.
Why do you feel guilty?
Well, I think I should be home.
Here's my favorite story.
Your favorite story, okay.
Not everyone's story has a happy ending. Dale Carnegie doesn't have the luxury of choosing a profession. After 10 years at a lumber mill, Carnegie's about to be laid off.
When I started out in the workforce, you know, if you stuck with a place, you usually were certain of employment as time went on. You know, the more seniority you built, the better your job security. And now that's kind of out, you know. After over 10 years of seniority, you know, it's just gone.
We are definitely seeing the erosion of the middle class in Canada as people move to the edges. And I think one of the things that we've regarded as a strength in Canada is the fact that we have been middle class. Whether that's been true or not is another story, but we have believed it to be true. And now there is this drift between rich and poor, skilled and unskilled, that I think we ought to think very hard about what kind of a society we are becoming.
Is Connie there, please? Just a reminder that she has a dentist appointment tomorrow morning at 8:45. Thanks, and bye-bye.
At the Reach Health Clinic on the east side, there are lots of sad stories. Many people without jobs, without money, without even the possibility of living well.
I see lots of people who won't even come to see me. And they know, I mean, what's the point to waste your time? Don't tell me to come and see you when I know that I cannot follow your recommendations anyway.
They just can't afford it.
That's right.
Just the day-to-day struggle for some of these families, it's just, I find, overwhelming. And
Dr. Sandy Witherspoon has been serving this community for 13 years.
In the families that we see, there's no question in my mind that there's a lot more stress and strain in those families than there was when I first began coming here. I think, and I guess in my mind, I think there's just less support for them.
You sound more like a social worker now that you're speaking than a doctor.
Well, yes, I suppose that's true. Except that's what often the patients need is that kind of social support.
You're very much with the whole person.
Well, we try to do that, and certainly the medical problem may be the presenting one, but it's the need for social support that's fundamental to that. And it's hard for people to get that when they don't have that anywhere else in their lives.
Do you want to water all the seeds? Can you go around and water the seeds?
I want to be the class.
You water the seeds over on their heads, Lauren. That's right. Just grow, you guys. Let's go. Up, 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 up. Up, up, up. And where are your pretty petals? Pretty petals? What color's your flower, Jamie?
I'm red.
Are you red?
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but connection from his mind to his heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our immensity within. I'm Robert Pictou.